All right. Just a 30-second countdown, just for fun. And we'll pretend that there's music playing in the background. I got to be careful with the music because if you play something that is copyrighted, Facebook just takes you down. So I'm just going to use my voice instead. And we've got a 30-second time now. It's a 30-second countdown that looks fun and looks vibrant and looks beautiful as women come in the space. Yes. Yes, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Stop share. I gotta have some fun, right? If the marketing team's gonna put the time and energy to make this special stuff, I want to make sure I utilize it. All right, so I'm seeing people coming into the house. For those of you here, whether you're in Facebook or you're in Zoom, it's always fun to know where you're coming from. I see Becca, I'm so glad to be here. Just FYI, I can only be here for 45 minutes, then have to join a family commitment. Totally get it. It's all good. Oh, Christy's coming in the house. I see women coming in. So give a heck yeah in the chat. Give a heck yeah. Heck yeah. Give a strong yes. Yes, I'm worthy. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready to learn. Yes, I'm ready to be the CEO of my life, the CEO of my health, right? Because you're important. You're here doing big things on the planet. If you're a mother, you're here raising your spectacular children. If you're a business owner, you're serving greatly out in the world. And you get to be the CEO of your wellness and of your life. Okay. So yesterday was day 2 of the workshop, and we officially opened doors into the Women's Vibrancy Code. I love the questions that are coming in. A couple of them I definitely want to make sure that I ask here today. And like I said, this is for women who are hungry. Okay. This is for women who are serious about showing up as the CEO of their life and the CEO of their health. There's some women that are like, well, is it for me if I don't have Anna shared her testimonial. She's an 8-figure earner. If I don't earn 8 figures, is this still for me? And I say, well, are you willing to stand in your power and say, I am worthy of feeling spectacular? And are you someone who's accustomed to investing heavily with time, energy, and money in your future? And if that is you, then yes, this is a space for you. And if it feels confronting, if the idea of change or the idea of taking a big leap feels confronting, I had a really interesting morning, and stuff was coming up for me that felt confronting. And I was like, where is this coming from? What is this about? Because really, it has nothing to do with anyone I'm interacting with or anyone out there. It has everything to do with me and who I'm being. Gary Zukov is a very good friend of ours, and he was over last night, last 2 nights for dinner, and I was talking with him. And for those of you that have read Seed of the Soul, it's so much around: is this coming from a frightened part of my personality, or is this coming from a loving part of my personality? And in these places where we feel confronted in groups of other potent and powerful women, wondering, who am I? Who am I? I imagine some of the women in this right now, in the midst of this workshop, are saying, who am I? Who am I to feel spectacular? Who am I to prioritize myself like that? Who am I to invest in myself in that way? Who am I to set boundaries? Who am I to let go of the old guilt and shame and actually feel sexually open and expansive and spectacular? Who am I to stand for my worthiness and set boundaries with my time and ask for this much money for what I do? And it's like, well, who am I not to? Yes, we get to stand in our power. We get to have the esteemed privilege of saying, this is my expertise and this is what I do. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Maraya Brown. I am a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert. I have been serving women for 23 years now. Okay. I finished my master's at Yale in 2007, headed up international health projects, ran the women's health and federally funded clinics as well as private practices. And over the last number of years, I've worked all virtually. I've served women across multiple continents, and it has been thousands of women. So when I notice those moments of who am I, yes, I remind myself of the things that I've done and the goalposts that I've moved and the accomplishments that I've had and the certifications that I have. And I also remind myself that I am a spectacular mother and woman and friend. And I do what I say I'm going to do, and women's lives change when they're in my energy. And I get to feel that and I get to be in that powerful place. Okay. And yes, I'm Yale educated, and I also burned my sage before going live. And I also have my favorite crystal right here that was chosen for me and by me last time I was in Mount Shasta. And so yes, I also go on the woo-woo scale. All right. So it's a little bit of all of it, and I embrace it. And I have the esteemed privilege of standing in my power and my worthiness so that I can hold the container for the women who say yes to me and receiving from me as I midwife them through chapters of change. Okay, so for the ambitious woman who's hungry, like I mentioned yesterday, doors officially opened to the Women's Vibrancy Code. I want to remind you that there are various ways to receive solutions and support from me. It can range anything from $200 a month subscription up to $100,000 a year VIP program. Okay, what is most important is that you listen to the possibility and you fill out the application. Okay. Aaliyah, if you would just go ahead and once again post that application link in all of the places in the Facebook groups and the Facebook page and here in Zoom so people have it. You just fill out the application. Okay. You have a success advisor that's there for you to help you navigate. Where do I fit in here? Is this a good fit? Ask your questions. Okay. Allow the stuff that's getting in your way to show up. Because once again, if you're feeling confronted, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're butting up against the ownership and the possibility of change, maybe you feel confronted by who knows what, but I want you to take it back to yourself and go, what part of the fearful parts of my personality are showing up? Right? How is that showing up for me? And where do I feel it in my body? And what do I want to choose to do with it? Okay. Because you have the esteemed privilege of being here with me today. We'll also have Kathleen Cameron and Wanda Watson that are going to be sharing their testimonials, as well as the guest master coaches, Katie as the nutritionist, Eva as the sexologist, Christy as the trauma release specialist. And you get to enjoy this, receive it, embrace it, implement it for free. And you also have the esteemed privilege of being able to say, am I ready? Am I ready to address my desire? Like really say, this is what I want. Yes, I'm showing up as the CEO in my business. Am I showing up as the CEO in my life and my relationship and my sexuality and my health? Maybe you don't run a business. Maybe you're an ambitious mom or community member. Just had a woman, she inherited. I'm so sorry for her. Both of her parents happened to pass. And she inherited a lot of money that's offered her a lot of time freedom. And she's ready to invest heavily in herself. And she also is ready to show up as the CEO of her life. So the Women's Vibrancy Code, as a reminder, it is a year-long commitment. There are group calls, one-on-one sessions, office hours. I'm covering the cost of the right labs, self-paced modules, and an amazing community. But more importantly is the transformation that takes place. Okay. Women have more energy. They sleep better. They feel more confident. They recognize themselves in the mirror. They transform their relationships. It's like sending a catapult in and they come alive. So if you are ready to come alive and you want to really up level what that looks like, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so that you have time to rest, digest, assimilate all of the transformation, not a quick fix, but to really transform in a big, potent way. Okay. Once again, it's $2,400 a month, or you can do a lump sum of 28,000. When you do the pay in full, I'm giving away either a 1-day VIP day with me or an in-person retreat, which is the first week of August in Park City, Utah. And that's a $5,000 value. So all you have to do is submit your application. And like I said yesterday, the application does not necessarily mean you're automatically accepted into the Women's Vibrancy Code, but it does mean that we get to sit down and have the conversation with you and figure out what is the best place. And then if you're like, nah, I don't like the groups, I want to really personalize concierge, like my healthcare provider in my back pocket. I have a busy life. I travel a lot. Then we're having the conversation around the VIP program, and that starts more at the $55,000 range. So, um, in the chat, oh, I didn't talk about the giveaway. Okay, so the giveaway, for those of you that are coming on, if you've already done it, you can do it again. Your name gets put in the hat every time. So in Facebook, you just go into just find Mariah Brown on Facebook, whether it's my business page or my personal page. And on this live, where I'm live right now, you just click share. And I have this beautiful swag bag, beautiful organic cotton. On here it says, I'm a vibrant, powerful, and sensual woman. Inside we have some adaptogens, a hand frother so you can make your adaptogen elixirs, a face jade roller and a gua sha, branded journal and pen, some adaptogens, I think I already mentioned that, and a beautiful necklace. The necklace is for those of you that follow me much. You see, I generally always wear it's the Beyond the Red Tent necklace that originally started when Beyond the Red Tent was launched. And now I have an exclusive relationship with the jeweler. Each one is handcrafted. And the only women that get these are women that come either into Women's Vibrancy Code or the retreat. But I'm gifting one in this swag bag. So all you need to do, I know, Christy, you love that necklace. You have one too. So that swag bag is being gifted. All you need to do is share, and you're welcome to share again. And then your name gets put in the hat again. So you just go over to Facebook and share. Okay, so for those of you that are here, either in Facebook or in Zoom, you're welcome to put in any questions for you, any questions around your energy, your sleep, your exhaustion, your relationships, how you navigate showing up as a CEO, so to speak, running a business. You heard Anna yesterday talk about her nervous system being coiled to the point that it was impacting how she related to other people. Whatever questions are real for you, you're welcome to ask them. I do have some that have already been submitted. A great question around sleep. And when we like, yes, we get to take all the steps to get better sleep, but on one of those nights where our sleep was crap, what do we do with that? So we're going to get into that. And first I want to honor Wanda's time. I think I saw her. Yeah, I saw Wanda. Let me go ahead and spotlight Wanda. Why is it not giving me the spotlight? Dun dun. Aaliyah, do you see? I wonder if I made you host instead of co-host. Do you see a way to spotlight Wanda? I'd like to spotlight myself too. I love, oh, there, spotlight for everyone there, whatever it was. Hey, Wanda, you
How
look
are you?
great. Good. You look beautiful.
Thank you. You do too.
Thanks for your time. It was fun. I recently interviewed Wanda on my podcast, and that's going to go live. Wanda, do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. I'm Wanda with Premier Business Solutions. I have an accounting firm and we work with elite entrepreneurs, and I am an expert tax strategist. And Maraya helps me stay sane.
Tell me more about that. In what way do you feel like you're staying sane?
Wow. Well, I feel I'm like a totally different person than I was when we first met. Um, and, life was in control of me and I was not in control of it.
Mm,
And yeah, so it's just so much. But setting boundaries and doing the self-care and even my diet and the supplements and even understanding the whys, like with the Dutch test and things of that sort. It's been wonderful.
yeah.
It's been wonderful.
I'm so glad to have you. When you say that life was in control of me, how did that show up for you in your life, in the roles that you played in relationships and family and friends and work? What did that look like?
Yeah, I was that one, being the go-to for the family and you have to rescue everyone, at least so I thought, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And running my business, and everybody and everything was priority except for me.
Right. So
Yeah.
me as the priority.
Yeah. And I didn't even understand that until I met you.
I'm so glad that we met. We shared a coach. We had the same coach for a little bit, and then that's how we
We did.
met.
We
And
did.
so when you think back to when you were thinking about saying yes to the Women's Vibrancy Code, what got in the way? What made you decide to say yes?
What got in the way is, again, putting everything else first and everybody else first. And so, my first thought was, that's a huge investment. And, that's something I was used to doing for my business coach from my business, but something I really hadn't even thought about for myself, for me
Mhm.
personally. Um, and then I just was sick and tired of being sick and tired. How about that? And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? I'm worth it. I'm
Yeah.
worth it. And so, yeah, so I took the plunge.
Does it make you think of that song? I'm worth it. Not that I'm
Yeah,
gonna, I can't sing, but you know the one I'm thinking of,
I
right?
do. I do. Yes.
Oh, it makes me want to dance. Okay, so we've been together. You're now on your second year, and you've been to one of the Women's Vibrancy retreats.
Yes.
Um, what's changed?
Everything. Everything's changed. It's like I said, now I understand, you know, the whys. Like if I'm feeling a little bit sluggish, I can think like, okay, what did I do differently? Because when you read the Dutch test and what have you, and I saw the times where I just kind of like plummeted, plateaued, like I mean not
Mhm, mhm.
plateaued, literally plummeted. And I was like, yeah, that's me, and I'm just like totally out of energy or what have you. I don't have those peaks and valleys anymore.
Mhm.
I'm good, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And so that's been a huge change that I've
right.
noticed.
And so it sounds like a lot of learning, a lot of shifting in how you prioritize yourself and say, I'm worth it. But then also the personalized, quantifiable numbers to go, okay, we looked at my Dutch test, we looked at my GI map, whatever the test might have been. And you're like, whoa, that makes so much sense. So I know you and I understand a little bit about a pretty good amount about your lifestyle and what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
But then we can also look at the numbers and come up with a really personalized plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What else? What when you as you prioritize yourself and as you feel more stable and you don't have the big troughs and valleys and mountains or whatever the saying is, and as you invest in yourself and you stop rescuing others and you feel more in control of your life, what change does that create?
You actually just you feel better. I feel better. I'm
Yeah.
showing up for me now,
Yeah.
in spite of all of the noise around me, the
Mhm.
people around me that are like, what's wrong with her? you know, like I called and I need this. What's wrong with her? She's not, but it's like, no, we have boundaries. And actually, Mariah, I was thinking about this earlier. Showing up for myself has helped me personally, but it's also helped me in my business. So, like I
Mhm.
said, investing in business coaching and what have you, okay, that's been great, in most cases.
Mhm.
However, what was missing was me showing up and investing in myself, doing
Yeah.
the work for me. Because now, not only am I showing up for myself, I'm showing up better as a better CEO for my business as well.
Yeah.
Right. That
I
is just
love
like so huge.
Yeah, I love that you say that because some people are like, well, I can invest in my business coaching because I know that there's a direct ROI. If I build the business, I'm going to make more money and then it can pay for this. And I go, how is it that we don't connect the dots? When you feel better and you have the brain clarity and the energy to make it through the day and you're sleeping better and you're setting priorities and you're feeling good, talk about an ROI and how you build your business, how you interact with your team members and your staff and your clients. And once again, people don't remember what we say or what we do. They remember how we make them feel.
Right, right.
And it sounds like I'm hearing people respond to you like, whoa, look at Wanda, setting some boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
Exactly.
so in the midst of the Women's Vibrancy Code, you had access to group calls, you had access to one-on-one time with me, one-on-one time with the nutritionist, rest sessions. I see Christy on already, plus the modules and the testing. And Scott and Eva, when you think about and all of the guest experts that I brought on each month, when you kind of sift through the buffet of options that you had, what were some of the most potent and most impactful for you?
Wow. Whew. Let me just say, I was thinking today as I looked at my insurance payment, my health insurance payment going out, I was like, I don't need that. I have Maraya and her crew.
Yeah.
Anyway, and really I joke about that, but it's like, I would really reach out to you before consulting with a doctor, to be quite
Mm,
honest. And the fact that even if I go to the doctor and, get some testing done, just knowing that I can upload them and you can look at them and I would have more of a thorough analysis. That's huge for me.
mhm,
Um, Chrissy is on. Chrissy has been such a blessing to me with the rest sessions. I mean, I get so filled up when I think about that. She has helped me work through a lot of the stuff, just a
mhm,
lot of the stuff. And and even with the nutritionist and, meeting with her and just finding out about, the stuff in my gut and needing to do the cleanse and everything and just really taking a deep dive in that. And then you come in and you just clarify all of that and then the DHA with the hormonals and everything. It's just been wonderful. And even Scott with the mindset. I may not have been on every call, but each call that I was on, I've really, really gleaned
yeah.
things from, something from. And our one-on-one was phenomenal.
Hmm.
So I have nothing but like great things and if I can say even Michael in the background, helping me
Yeah.
with mom and
Yeah.
so it's just been huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, Wanda. And I think the beauty of it is each woman that comes in, like I said, there's kind of a buffet of options depending on how much time someone wants to spend. Do you like group? Do you like one-on-one? And then I bring in, I'm perpetually listening. What are other questions? Like this next week for the group call, we have someone coming in who specializes in human design and everybody's human design. We're going to talk about that because there were a lot of questions. And so it's perpetually changing. And I'm also just looking in the chat. I'm seeing Krista and Christy and Becca
Oh,
all just giving you love. The
thank
community
you.
of women. What has been your experience of the community of women?
Oh, it's been great. It's been great. I actually I'm so glad that I went to the retreat because I was
Mhm,
able to, be up close and personal and really, get to know everyone. And everyone's just so supportive and, just so loving and encouraging, so
mhm,
that's been huge. And even being able to build on one another, like on the call last week, and I think it was Sherry that shared something, and it was like a light bulb came on. It's like, yeah, I can totally relate to that.
mhm.
And yes, it's just been good. And then, we reach out on Facebook every now and again, hey,
Yeah,
how you doing? Just checking in and what have you. So it's been good.
yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for you. Anything else that you want to say about just who you've had to be along the journey to have the transformation that you've had, and how it's creating a ripple effect for the future version of you?
Yeah, yeah. I really just had to be open,
Mhm.
really open to things that one we never discussed before, with the sexologist and what have you. And we talked about that, growing up, we didn't talk about sex. I mean, who does that?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but and really open to, you know, all the wisdom that's been shared with me. It's just
Mhm,
been wonderful. And open to the change, desiring a better me,
mhm,
and doing the work, you know, what needed to be done. and still needs to be done. I haven't arrived by any stretch of the imagination, but I've come a long ways.
I don't think there
Yeah,
is an arrival.
yeah,
It's
yeah. And
it
I would just say that, if you say, well, no, I can't afford that, you can't afford not to. You can't
hmm
afford not to because again, it's huge. It affects your business, your family, your relationships, and what have you. But more than anything, it helps you. It's helped me to fully show up for
hmm
me. Yeah,
hmm I'm so
that's a
glad that you have.
non-negotiable.
I love working with you. It's so fun for me. It just,
Oh,
I feel like my zone of genius gets to be expressed every day.
oh, and I appreciate you too. I
Mhm.
do.
Thank you for your time, Wanda.
My pleasure.
hmm All right, I know we have Kathleen coming in soon. I wanted to get to one of the questions that was submitted in advance, and it was around sleep, which I thought was a really fascinating and good question. And Becca had asked the question, well, I'm a single mom, I've got a child, and if the child's up all night and not sleeping, like, yes, I'm doing my things to get better sleep. But what do I do in that if there just happens to be that one night where I didn't get any sleep? And the reason I love this question is it's relevant for all of it. I get you. I've got a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. There's still not a night where I sleep through the whole bed without some child coming and get in bed with us, right? As a midwife, I would do a 24 or 48-hour shift and be up for long periods of time. For a woman who's in menopause and struggling with hot flashes or urinary frequency, that might be one of those things that's waking you up. Or if you're a person who travels a lot and you're struggling with jet lag, or you just had to do an overnight, whatever it might be, right? So there's lots of different causes of I didn't get any sleep. Okay, if you're one of those where your adrenals are starting to get exhausted, your blood sugars aren't stable, and your cue is I wake up in that 2 to 4 a.m. time period and my mind is buzzing and my body's exhausted and I struggle to go back to sleep, right? And now you've got to still show up the next day for the people that you serve. So, what do I do with that, right? So, first, I wanted to put once again the link to the podcast. I just did a 3-part series on sleep specifically. Okay, so I really want to encourage you. Let me put that in the chat. And Aaliyah, if you can pop it in all the Facebook spaces in the chat as well. Um, it's important if you want to do a deep dive. But just for here, like if we've got a few minutes together to talk about, okay, what are some things that you can do the next day? Okay, first, I wanted to say hydrate. Hydrate like it's your job. Okay, if you have had a night of no sleep, I actually think that hydration is more important than caloric intake. Because what's happened is when you don't sleep, your body hasn't been able to properly detoxify and it ends up becoming more dehydrated. So now we have more brain fog and we have poor eating choices. That's when we tend to crave the really crappy food. And it's not necessarily more calories that our body is needing, but our body's really needing good quality hydration. And when you are going to eat those small meals, make sure it's a lot of greens and make sure that there's ample protein. Okay. And if possible, allow that protein to be light, not something too heavy. So maybe not red meat, maybe nuts, sprouts, legumes, right? Maybe some fish, some eggs. Okay. Other things that I do if I've gone a sleepless night for whatever reason, I'll add in my extra CBD. I use a CBD oil that's THC free, and I'll take extra throughout the day. I also add in, yeah, sprouts or protein. Yeah, yeah, sprouts, and depending on what kind of sprouts you get, my favorite sprouts are sunflower sprouts. So they're coming from sunflower seeds. They're a great source of protein. Ironically, broccoli is also a great source of protein for those that don't know. So eat your broccoli, and then broccoli in particular is really good at helping the body detoxify. And then I'm going to automatically add in my extra immune support because we know that when we're run down and we haven't slept, your immune system is going to be quivering. You're more likely, if you have a history of getting cold sores, that's when they're going to show up. If you're immunocompromised at all, that's when it can catapult into becoming sick. So obviously, we're going to stay away from sugar. I make the assumption, but I need to say it out loud. That is not the day, even no matter how much you're craving it to eat sugar. So there's no sugar. What does it look like from immune support? For me, I'm going to hydrate well. I've already said that. I will add in, for me, I do encapsulated Juice Plus. I'll add in a couple extra rounds. I also do encapsulated colostrum, as long as you're not vegan. Colostrum is a great option. It comes from the very first milk. For those of you that have ever breastfed, it's that first milk. It's like that really deep, kind of dark yellow. And it's super high in IgA antibodies. Okay, so it's great for immune support. I will load up on vitamin D as in dog. So if I'm normally doing 5,000 international units a day, I'll do 50,000 a day for 3 days. So a nice pulse if I'm ever feeling immunocompromised or super run down. From an adaptogenic standpoint, when you think about adaptogens, definitely drink your adaptogen elixir throughout the day and specifically extra cordyceps. So even if you have encapsulated cordyceps or you want to just add extra all day long, I'm going to urge you not to go to caffeine no matter how tired you feel, because the caffeine then depletes and you don't absorb the nutrients from what you're eating. But if you absolutely want some caffeine and your body responds well to it, I would go to green tea. So, green tea or matcha, they do have great anti inflammatory properties. And for some, green tea can actually help you sleep. And so, like in my scenario, I can't do yerba mate or coffee. It just sends me like, "Argh." But I can have matcha and it works well with my body. So hopefully you've tested it before you've had the sleepless night. When you listen to the podcast series that I did on sleep, there's something called adenosine. So, adenosine is the hormone of sleep pressure. Okay. As we stay up throughout the day, adenosine builds and we want it to build. You want to build up that sleep pressure so that way when it's time to go to sleep, you're able to go to sleep. So, that means try not to nap. Because if you nap, specifically if you nap more than 20 minutes, you're now reducing that adenosine and you're reducing your sleep pressure, which now makes it harder to go to sleep that night. There's so much that I can say. Focus on your light. Okay. So make sure your eyes are exposed to natural light. If you can just even open the window, okay? Natural light. It goes in through something called your suprachiasmatic nucleus. Through the eyes, it absorbs and it tells the body, okay, it's time to be awake. It gets your circadian rhythm going. If you don't have light and you live in a climate or it's in winter where you don't have as much, red light therapy can be lovely. So doing red light therapy morning and evening, about 15 minutes. Never do more than 20 minutes. It's a waste of your effort. So getting outside, can you get natural light on your eyes as well as your skin? Plus you're going to be breathing in the fresh air. You'll be blown away at what a difference it can make. Couple more pointers, and hopefully this doesn't mean you do all of them, but jot down the ones that are like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, especially Becca, because you asked the question and you're a healthcare provider and you know a lot of this stuff. Breathe. Okay, just slowly, just more profoundly and slowly focus on your breath. Let me say that again. Focus on slowing down your breathing. Deep, slow breaths. Okay, sometimes I'll do Wim Hof. So I'll just do like a Google search, Wim Hof, and I'll do a guided Wim Hof breathing exercise. That's super rejuvenating. But if I don't have the time or energy, we can all do it right now while we're sitting here. There's never an excuse to say I don't have time to breathe. You just simply make it bigger. When you breathe in through your nose. And when you breathe out through your mouth. And you feel your body and you feel your belly. I want to make sure, Aaliyah, if I miss Kathleen, I don't see her. I just want to make sure she's not waiting because I can keep talking forever. Um, Throughout the day, if you've gone a sleepless night, can you set your timer for once an hour to get up and get a little bit of body movement? Okay. Even if it's just 60 seconds, ideally 5 minutes to move your body. Okay. We want to when we move our body, it's sending blood flow through the body. It's allowing that oxygen to flow from cell to cell so that it can fire more freely and more efficiently. It's also going to turn on the brain. I love there was a study that I was listening to. I think I was on a Netflix series, I think. And they were talking about these researchers that were studying rats. And the rats that exercise were smarter. They're more efficient. Okay. So if you're tired and you're feeling run down and you're feeling toxic and you can't think, you're feeling bloated for all different reasons, one of them being I didn't sleep enough, go move your body. And don't move it too hard. That doesn't mean a big run. Because if we run, sometimes that's just sending the adrenals into hyperdrive. It's like, where's the saber tooth? Where am I running from? And now the body doesn't feel safe. But instead, little snippets. So if you can do little snippets outside, now we're really talking. And if you can do it every hour, whoo, and then be patient with yourself and be patient with others. Okay. When we're tired and we're sleep deprived, we're going to be more irritable. We're going to be a little bit more snappy. And so we just allow ourselves that little bit of extra, like, okay, I'm going to take a pause before I react. I'm going to step outside the room if I need to. I'm gonna go take a shower if I need to. I'm gonna blast some music and dance it out if I need to. Whatever I need to do, because I feel the lioness that's about to roar, not in a good way. Okay? And like I said, when we're sleep deprived, we're more likely to crave the junk food, the alcohol, the caffeine. So that's not the answer. One last thing and then I'm done. And I saw that Eva came on, and I'll text Kathleen, seeing what's going on. There, I see Kathleen coming in the house. So sedation is not sleep. So in the evening, using alcohol or Ambien, whatever it may be, that is sedation. That is not sleep, my friends. Okay. So that does not mean that you get to lay like a log thinking that your body's sleeping when actually you're not getting into deep sleep or deep REM sleep, and you're not getting the rejuvenation. And so if you've had the sleepless night, you're struggling the next day, that doesn't mean that you're using a sleep aid the next day. And like I said, listen to the podcast. There were 3-part series. They're all worth listening to if you're struggling with sleep. Okay. I see Kathleen and I see Eva. Oh my gosh, I want to call on both of them. Eva, I'm hoping you're okay. I'm going to interview Kathleen, which is going to take about 15 minutes or so. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, Eva, that that's going to work for you and you'll still be on, because I do have a question that someone asked that I would love to ask you. For those of you, really quick, let me just show you Eva. Eva is the team sexologist. Eva, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody.
La 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 la. For the women in the Women's Vibrancy Code, she comes in and facilitates group calls. Plus, in the portal, you have lots of calls that she's facilitated. And for the VIP clients that are all one-on-one, more concierge, they get one-on-one time with her, which is super yummy and juicy. So really quick, let me pull on Kathleen, and then Eva, I'm hoping you'll have the time and I'll bring you on in a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, Kathleen.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I want to spotlight you. Where did you go? Aaliyah, do you see Kathleen? Would you spotlight her pretty please? Where did she go? There she
I would spotlight myself, but it doesn't let me.
is. There you are. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Great. It's nice to see you.
I'm making sure I have the right mic set up here. Yes, I do. Okay.
It's
I have two mics now. It's like all complex.
well, and you're obviously home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So really quick, just introduce yourself. You want to tell the listeners in Facebook and watching the recording, the replay, and that are here on Zoom, who is Miss Kathleen Cameron?
Oh my gosh. I am a mom of two beautiful girls. They are my pride and joy. I also have a third baby. She's called Diamond Academy, which is my coaching academy. And I'm a manifestation coach. I teach law of attraction, power of the mind, all those beautiful things. I formerly trained with Bob Proctor and started my career with him. Greatest teacher of all time of law of attraction. And now for the past 2 years, I've been running my own business, my own intellectual property, coaching, mentoring, and just creating a life of time and financial freedom for myself.
Mm-hmm. And so you are, in my opinion, a tremendous powerhouse CEO in the world with a
Oh,
great deal of ripple effect. You're changing a lot of lives.
that's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah,
Doing what I love.
doing what you love. And so when you think about how you have shown up as the CEO of your health and the CEO of your relationships,
Mm.
what does that look like?
Well, it's been very transformative this year. I will say the least. It's been a learning and it's been growth, and everything that I've experienced internally is now expressing itself on the outside. And so my health has become a primary focus. And I say that as in I've accepted the idea that I'm healthy instead of trying to, I was believing that I wasn't trying to become it. I've accepted the identity that I'm health and that I'm healthy and that longevity is how I live every single day. And of course, I bring beautiful Maraya into my life at a time when I chose that. And so she's been alongside me, guiding me along this entire journey of, my physical transformation and in terms of my health, but also relationships too. Her and I chat a lot about that. I'm a newly single woman, so it's been almost a year, but life is different in both of those respects, and it's transformative in a really beautiful way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I remember, so for those of you that don't know, Kathleen's one of my VIP clients. And I remember when you first said yes, and we started working together, and I got a text, and you're like, I'm making a lot of people cry, a lot of people sad out there because there was a number of people
Oh
and
yeah.
experts and healthcare providers and health coaches reaching out to you saying, Kathleen, hire me, Kathleen.
Oh gosh, it was an abundance because 1 year ago, May 10th, so not even a year ago, I had a health awareness, and so I had lung surgery and was in the ICU with a chest tube and all of these things. And when I came out of that, I decided, okay, I'm taking this serious now. I'm really, my health is most important. Longevity of my vessel is key. I'm gonna love myself to become the best of myself, which now includes my vessel. And so when I like publicly said that, I had all of these people reaching out to me like, I can help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. And nobody, I didn't really resonate with anyone, to be really honest. But when I met Maraya in Miami, it was like, okay, yeah, I think I've found her.
Hmm. It was
Yeah.
love at first sight. I remember we were in the pool and it was like everyone just kind of we had a big bubble around us.
They all left us. They all left us alone. They could feel that the energy between us was so powerful. And so, like, we had started with a big group of people in the pool. And then I don't know how long we were talking for, but we look around and it was like, everyone's gone.
Long enough that we both had to go pee.
We did. It was that long.
Um, and what has changed so far? So I think you've shared publicly that I think on two different occasions over your life you've lost 100 pounds,
Yeah, almost 3 times. Like
almost three times.
80 pounds once and then 100 pounds twice.
Hmm. And since we've been working together, there has been change on the scale.
Mhm.
I, I'm not, it's not, for me, it's not as important. For some, it becomes a quantifiable measure that's relevant. But I'm curious, what is different now
Mhm.
in your journey, and also what has changed in how you feel since
Mm.
we have been working together?
Yeah, I love these questions. I have rebelled against discussing the number on the scale now because for me before it was such a big deal. It was like I used to count down the 10 pounds and then I would post it on social media and be like, "Look at me, I'm doing so good. I'm down another 10." So now I don't want to publicly say it, but it is this the amount of a small child, more than that. But like physically now. I've had to buy an entire new wardrobe, probably about 3 sizes smaller than I was before. But it's more things like the amount of movement I can do, the flexibility I can do. I mean, I hiked Runyon Canyon in an hour and a half the first time, 3 weeks ago, I guess now.
Oh, I think
I
you
did it
did.
in an hour and a half, then I did it in an hour, and then I did it in 40 minutes over the course of the week with my friend Eric. And I am stronger. I am more flexible. Like my heartburn has reduced. I don't lose my voice like I used to. I listen to myself actually back from stuff about a year ago, and I can actually hear in my voice heavier breathing. Whereas
Hmm.
now I just feel light and ease and flow and all that kind of stuff. But the beautiful thing is I seek nutritional things. So I ask myself, like, does this drink I'm about to have a nutritional value? Like, does it help me in any way?
Hmm.
And if the answer is no, I'm like, yeah, I don't want it. So I'm always asking that, And then now I actually crave healthy food. So I've only eaten salad this year. My whole life I despised it, and now it's my favorite food. So all kinds of things. But in terms of me and how I feel, I really do feel like my outside is reflecting my inside. And it is just such a beautiful ease and flow at which I'm doing versus my past and what I wanted to. It was all about how I looked before. This isn't about how I look. This is about really taking care of my body and being here for the long haul. Like,
Mhm. Yeah. And I think it's so cool that you brought up the changes in the voice. So
mm,
we found in her GI map, when you
mhm,
met with Katie and I, we
yep.
found something in her GI map that kind of gave reasoning as to what was happening with the changes in her voice, and especially
Mhm,
for someone that speaks a lot and clearing and heartburn.
mhm.
And so, how cool that we could give you a very personalized approach to go, we looked at your poop and it gave us some answers.
You're so funny. Yeah, totally. No, it was so helpful. And actually, like most of the things that came back were not like shocking. They actually were like, this makes total sense. But I
Mhm,
think what I loved the most, Mariah, was so many people tell you to take this supplement and eat in this way and stop having this. And they just say it because it's like a one size fits all approach to everything and everyone. And
mhm,
it just, that makes no sense. So what I loved was, after all of that came back, we met and with Katie and we actually said like, okay, so what do you think you should take? And this is what you guys recommend based on what the results were saying. That
mhm.
made all the sense in the world. I don't know why that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's happening now. And when I think about you've had one-on-ones with me and Christy, who's on with rest sessions.
I just thought about you earlier today. I need to book another session. No, I don't need to. I want to.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you've met Katie and Eva. Hopefully Eva still has time. And Eva, I have a question for you afterwards. You get some one-on-one time with Eva, which you
Yeah,
haven't taken advantage of
I
yet.
got to chat with Eva.
You don't have to, but if you desire to, it's there,
Yeah,
and you'll get a chance to kind of see her in action. And I'll
yeah.
ask her a couple questions, and she has no idea what I'm going to be asking her. I have another question for you, and that's around investing heavily in yourself.
Hmm.
So for the woman, and this is great because this, I mean, for those of you that don't know, Kathleen is really she's an expert in the world of manifestation and really changing how we see ourselves
Hmm.
in order to create the life that we want to create. And you might have your different words that you would use, but that's how I describe you.
Yep.
And so for a woman who is hungry to say yes to herself, she feels like this could be a solution for her, and yet there is fear around investing
Hmm.
heavily in herself. How do you make those decisions? Because I know, I mean, for you, I think it's probably fair to say you've made $100,000 investments for yourself.
I've my biggest investment in myself was 330,000.
Whew.
Hmm.
Okay. And so who did you need to be to do that?
The biggest thing is when you're investing in yourself for whatever it is, if you're joining a mastermind or a course or a coach or whatever that is, it's always about your sense of worthiness and your sense of faith in you and what you're going to do with it and how you're going to create. So for me, I sign up for things and I invest in me based on how I feel about me. It's not about the mentor or the course or the program because I know that I function, I work, I'm committed, I'm here, I'm going to do the work. And so I trust me before anything else. Sometimes I think the fear is am I going to invest in this and this, will this work for me? No, will I work for me? That's the
Mhm.
biggest thing. And so every time I invest or I reinvest in myself, it's another opportunity for me to step into the best of myself, to be the confident version of me, to be the worthy version of me, to be the version of me that says yes to herself and her own growth. Every single time I've invested, I've brought that money back in double, triple, quadruple every single
Yeah.
time. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be an investment into my business, like every investment that I've made up until the investment with you, Mariah, was coaching, was like a course, a coaching program or something like that. And it was related to my business. So it was like, I'm going to sign up for this coaching and I'm going to invest in this. And so then my business will grow and I'll make more money. So, okay, this is reasonable. But then investing with you, it was like, well, this is about my health. This is about longevity. This is about my vessel. This isn't about my business per se. Like I know the connection, but it was finally saying, okay, this is going to be about Kathleen the woman. And when I signed up for you to work with you, Mariah, it was a moment in time where I said, you know what? I am everything. I am my universe. Like everything that is around me and that happens is coming from me. And if I'm not focusing on my health, then I'm not going to be here to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a prioritization. It was less about investing more money into my business, but investing into my own health. And it's been a completely different perspective because it's not about a rush. It's not about trying to look a certain way. It's not about a wedding I'm trying to go to. It's about how can I learn the skills to take care of this vessel now for the long run and
Mm-hmm.
do big things while I'm here.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think that's changed how you show up as a mom, how you show up as a CEO, how you show
Mm.
up as a woman now single, possibly looking for a partner if that is something that you're desiring? How, what changes as you've started to identify with health?
Mhm. Oh, everything changes, you know. I would I would say that the biggest thing for me is really stepping into a version of myself that really believes in what I teach. And I teach how to, build a massive business and an extraordinary life through the ease and flow and through taking care of who you are, including your spirituality, your intellectual mind, and your physical body. And so
Mhm.
now for me, it's a sense of wholeness. And so that sense of wholeness comes when I'm taking care of all parts of me. And like today, I put a pair of earrings on and some lipstick on because I was coming here, but I was at the spa all day. And like, I don't work Fridays. So people will be like, you don't work Friday? No, I don't really work Tuesdays and I don't really work Fridays. And yeah, I have an 8-figure business. And those are decisions that I made to really, really live and practice what I preach. And my team, today we're doing self-care, self-love Fridays every day. So now every Friday, I want them to go and do something that they love and do something for themselves and take care of themselves. And the one thing that I think is so beautiful, I had a session with my trainer, who's a really good friend of mine, Eric, yesterday. And I get down there, we're ready to go. And then Reagan shows up, which is my 8-year-old daughter. She shows up in her running shoes, her little shorts, and her t shirt, and she's ready to work out with us. And I just thought that that was so beautiful because she's starting to mimic more of my positive behaviors instead of some of the ones that weren't necessarily so positive before.
Yes,
Yeah,
because they do what we do, not what we say.
totally. I can
Hmm.
tell her one thing, but it's watching.
Yeah.
It's really just they pay attention and they just absorb it. And she's been saying things to me. She'll say, "Is this healthy, Mom? Is this nutritional? Is
Mm.
this nutritional?" And I'm like, "Yeah, girl."
And I had a moment of confusion. I'm actually talking to Eric this weekend. I don't know if I told you
Oh,
that.
good. Okay.
Um, but isn't Reagan in Toronto and Eric's in LA and you were
Yeah. So Eric is in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in LA, but we did a Zoom.
Okay, got it. Got it.
I,
Got it.
I love
Um,
Eric's training style and working with him now because he's more feminine,
uh-huh.
not
Yeah,
so hard.
he's starting to pick my brain about exercising based on a 28-day cycle. So we're
Yeah.
going to have
Well,
the conversation.
that's why I told him he needs to reach out to you because I'm like,
Yeah.
because he trains a lot of clients. I'm like, well, do you ever consider the moon cycle? And do you ever consider a woman's cycle?
Yep.
And he was like, no. I'm like, well, you got to talk to Mariah then.
There we have it. I'm going to
But he
talk to him.
knows. I had my period one day and I said, Eric, I have my period and I want to take it easy. And he was like,
Yep.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I want to honor your time. One thing I heard you say is that you support individuals doing it with ease and flow.
Yes. Mhm.
And I've taken one of Kathleen's courses, and that was the big piece. As I get into my own self-reflection with how I show up as a CEO, I
Mm.
watched patterns of and assumptions that it felt complicated when it comes
Mm.
to all the team and hiring and onboarding and I would and more money. Somehow I had these old beliefs and assumptions that played out around it being complicated. And instead, I
Mhm.
could hear from Kathleen and go, right, it can absolutely feel easy and it can absolutely be in flow.
Oh, yeah.
And so I love the reciprocation. This isn't just a one-way street.
Yeah, and
Um,
I want to just quickly share something too, Mariah, because I was reflecting today while I was at the spa. Um, I think one of the most beautiful things is that you've really gotten to know me.
mm,
So, you've really taken the time to listen and to pay attention to, maybe some of my past behaviors and feelings and stuff like that. And then where do I want to go, and how do I want to see things, and how do I want to treat my body, and how do I want this journey to be? And when I messaged you this week, I loved that you actually, like, and I don't think I got to really respond because I listened to all your voice notes and then I had to get on a call right away.
yeah.
But I love how you didn't just tell me what I wanted to hear, but you literally said, well, I don't think this is actually how you want it to be though, Kathleen.
Hmm.
Like, it was like, instead of rushing this, just celebrate. And that was so powerful. Actually, I have a post ready to go up for tomorrow to talk about celebrating myself, because what I did and what you picked up on is I went right back into the old me around this journey and weight loss for a second there. I went back to the old me and was like, okay, I want this to pick up now. Let's go. Let's make it faster. And you were like, whoa, like, why don't you celebrate you?
Hmm.
Celebrate the changes that you've made so far. And so I went back and looked at some old photos. I went back and listened to myself before, and I started writing out all the ways in which I'm different and I feel different, in order to celebrate it, to then pause in this moment and just be. And then what will be will be. And I know that, like,
Yes.
I know what the outcome is. I know where I'm headed, but it's taking the moment to pause. And I thought that was really beautiful, was
Yeah.
just how open you were to getting to know me and seeing me, and then giving me back what I actually needed, and not
Yeah.
the opposite.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I really, when it comes to the VIP clients, I keep that very intimate.
Mm.
And I do. I lean in and I love you dearly. And
Mhm.
I want you to feel spectacular, maybe as much as you want to feel spectacular.
Yeah.
Um, okay, last question. When you think about all the changes that have taken place, and the changes that feel personalized in their diet and their nutrition and their lifestyle, and perpetually adjusting how we choose to see ourselves, all of that,
Yep.
what new hope do you have for the future version of yourself?
Oh my gosh. Like, it's so interesting because I didn't realize how many limitations I actually had around my physical body before, until now. And I would say I don't want to do that. Like, back
Hmm.
then, like when my body was larger and not as flexible and not able to do as much, going up a flight of stairs, I would be out of breath when I would get to the top. So I would always take the elevator and things like that.
Hmm.
Going out to vacations and things like that, if there was like a excursion, like a hike or yoga or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. But I don't think it ever really was, I don't want to do that. It was more, I can't do that, or this is going to be too
Mm.
hard and things like that. So now I think about upcoming trips, or, I travel a lot just in life in general. Like, I'm going to spend the month of April in LA. And I'm like, okay, I wonder where's all the hikes I can find? Where's all these fun adventures I can go on? Like, where's the things that I can do physically to have more fun?
Yeah.
And so it's opened up my eyes to so many more opportunities and
Hmm.
experiences. And then
Hmm.
I just think about how much longer my body's going to last me now. It's going to last me through all of this amazing work that I get to do over the course of my
Hmm.
life. But I think the most important thing is the impact on my girls. Like, my girls are learning new behaviors, new habits, new ways of seeing the world. They're seeing a woman now who is taking care of herself every single day.
Yeah.
Like, every single day.
It gives me chills.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
beautiful. Yeah.
And yes, when you're in LA, you and Eva can potentially meet up in person. And you're going to be at the Women's Vibrancy Retreat next month, and I'm
Yes.
taking you on a hike as part of the retreat.
Let's go. I'm ready, girlfriend.
Let's go. Let's go. Anything else? Any last parting words that feel important to say?
I just think for me, I've really, really decided to put longevity over vanity. And I think we would never say that we are vain. We wouldn't look at this and say, okay, I'm a vain person. But if I look back on my experience of yo yo dieting for 25, 30 years, it was all about my appearance. It was all about what I look like. That's it.
Hmm.
And so when somebody would go to the gym and they were in a thin body, I would say, why are you going to the gym? Like, why do you need to go? Or if a thin person would order a salad, I'd be like, why are you eating that healthy food? Are you trying to lose weight? It didn't compute because the messaging that I received for so long was, you should do this, you should do that. It was never, I want to. And so now I really try as much as I possibly can to think about the inside of my body more than the outside of my body. So
Yes,
I'm really
yes.
asking the question of, does this thing support me? Does this experience make me better? Does this food give me the nutrition that I require? And how can I treat my body in a better way? And so this is the first time that I've lightened up, I will say, lightened up. This is the first time I've lightened up with so much ease and flow, to be quite honest. Like just living my life, existing every single day, and just being a healthy version of me. And where some people, like my audience, doesn't congratulate me on weight loss because they know. But what some people, want to say is like, you're shrinking or you're slimming down. I actually believe I'm expanding. I really
Mm,
believe that my toroidal field is expanding, my reach is expanding, my power is expanding, my love is expanding. And so I'm
mm.
actually being a greater amplified version of myself other than slimming or shrinking down.
Yep. And your energy is expanding. Your ability to move is expanding. Your clarity of thought is expanding. Your lifespan is expanding. Because I can tell you, I've seen many very thin women that might look like they're fit. And
Oh, yeah.
I'll look at their CRP as an example, which is a reflection of their total inflammation, or
Yeah.
their homocysteine level, which is a reflection of their cardiovascular well being and a broad stroke, and have a conversation with them and they feel like crap and their blood work or their GI map is totally crazy, their adrenals are exhausted, and I go, okay, they might look like someone that you want to see on a
Totally.
magazine, but they're not sleeping well, they're not confident,
Mm.
they don't have energy in the day, they feel unfulfilled in their relationships, they don't have a sex life. And we
Oh,
go, is that really what we want, just so we can look beautiful in the mirror according to others?
I know. And so that's why health can really, really not be indicative of your appearance at all. And I really like to step back and away from that
Hmm.
and really think about, our
Yeah.
behaviors and how we feel.
Yeah. And it can be a both and, because I see changes in your skin.
Mm,
And for me, when I see someone's skin that has that glow, I know the skin is the largest organ in the body. I
yeah.
think of it as the most vocal organ. And
Mhm.
it is singing at the mountaintops that your cells within your body are firing and much more healthy and
Yeah.
swift and
Hmm.
clean and toxin free and all of that. Okay, I could go on and on forever. I just love you so much and I love working with you.
Love you too. Love you
And
too.
I'll see you in March.
Okay. Sounds good. See you
Okay, ciao,
soon.
ciao. Okay, and
Bye.
if you want to stay on and you can hear Eva.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, okay. Eva Clay. Thank you for waiting, Eva. I really appreciate it. Add spotlight. There she is. Hi.
Hi. It was fun to hear Kathleen.
Yeah. I thought you might enjoy it, and I'm really excited for the two of you to meet,
Yeah.
especially because she's spending a lot of time in LA. I don't know if you're in Santa Monica.
Yeah, I know all the fun spots in LA, inside and out.
Yes, you do. Okay, so for those of you that don't know Eva, Eva is so within the Women's Vibrancy Code, we have a number of master coaches that facilitate group call. Some of them you have one-on-one time. Eva is one of them. She is an acclaimed sexologist. She also historically is a psychotherapist, and she taught neuroscience in the UCLA system. So when I bring in master coaches, it is really important to me that they are vetted, that they are credentialed, that they have a track record, and they also just have experience with people. They could go a little bit on the woo-woo world and really just be with women. So, Eva, anything else you want to say about who you are and the work that you do?
I just love to empower women and couples in living the most pleasurable life possible in and out of the bedroom.
Mm,
My approach is somatic and trauma informed. I think that's really important to name
mhm.
and important skills to have today when it comes to the conversation around sex.
And when you say somatic and trauma informed, what does that mean to you? I'm grabbing paper so I can write it down.
Yeah. So by training, I'm a somatic psychotherapist, meaning Soma is of the body. So in somatic psychotherapy, we come from a slightly different orientation that's less about talking about the wound or talking about the problem, and it's more about re-entraining the nervous system and expanding the capacity and resiliency of the nervous system for life, to try to titrate against life stressors. And so, especially when we talk about sex and sexual pleasure, it's such a neurological event. Most people think that sex happens in the genitals. Sex actually happens in your brain. And anytime we're talking about increasing sexual pleasure or resolving trauma, we have to look at this additionally from the perspective of the brain and the nervous system.
It's beautiful. And I think when I hear feedback from all the women when they have attended a group call that you facilitate, I hear that. I hear that they feel like their nervous system just like calms down and they're able to really receive. Um, you facilitating topics that many aren't accustomed to talking about and sometimes feel uncomfortable and sometimes feel taboo and sometimes there's old trauma around it. And so I love the container that you hold and to know that you have the didactic education and background, but it's more around how you allow people to feel, both couples work and one-on-one, because some of the VIP clients have done couples work with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a privilege.
Yeah. And you do couples work outside of Women's Vibrancy Code.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the woman who's listening and she has a full life, okay, maybe she's the CEO of a business. Maybe she has young children and her relationship feels very transactional, like we're passing in the night. Um, I'm wondering if you have any snippets or words of wisdom for whether a woman is single or coupled. How do we start by rearranging and shifting the priority in regard to our sensuality and our passion?
Such a great question and such an important question. And you and I recently have been talking about this, about the importance of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of women and a lot of couples, the erotic life is kind of last on the list. It's not as important as the daily tasks or getting the kids to school on time or going to work and earning a living, that it kind of falls down in the list of priorities. And I'm here to say it's really important to keep that at the top of your list, because your erotic life, meaning your relationship to your body, and meaning eros is literally your life force. It is your vitality. So when I talk about your erotic life, I don't just mean your sexual life. I mean your relationship to life itself. And we know that sensuality, sexuality, sexual pleasure, orgasm, turn on is a really important driver and engine for your life force.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever is happening in your body, and I know you were just talking about these labs, that you look at with women, and I've had all these labs too. Like, we can get a picture of a woman's biological function, but all of those labs are a reflection of her life force and her vitality.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a parallel relationship here between how a woman looks on paper, how her biological systems are functioning, and how she prioritizes her pleasure. And your pleasure is a guide, it's your GPS, it's your navigation as to what is going to be healthy for you. And I don't mean pleasure in the sense of a dopamine spike, hedonistic indulgence, like eating a pint of ice cream or binging on Netflix. I don't mean pleasure like that. I mean, when we really start to relate to pleasure as our teacher, your pleasure will be your guide, meaning what feels wholesome, integrated, good for you, good for the planet, good for your family, and really learning how to discern that. The same is true for your sexuality. Your libido, your turn on, your desire, they're all indicator lights on the dashboard of your body. And if something is not in flow, if something isn't empowered in your sexual life, that's an indicator that there may probably very likely be a breakdown somewhere else in your system, whether that system be your body or your psyche. So we definitely don't want to leave that out of the conversation.
Yeah. And I realize I mentioned single and coupled, and I didn't mention polyamorous. So I don't mean to exclude. I mean, there's lots of ways that we can color outside the lines and be in relationship and outside of relationship. So for the woman who's listening and she's like, yeah, I actually have a lot of pleasure. I actually feel like I have a lot of eros from the perspective of my libido. It's actually pretty solid. And yesterday I touched briefly on erotic blueprint. So I'm curious if you want to talk through the lens of erotic blueprint or something different. For the woman who's wanting an up level, she wants to feel really turned on, even more turned on by her life and herself and her work. And if she has a lover or multiple lovers, turned on by that. Um, what piece of advice or what words of wisdom do you have there?
Great. Well, we can jam on erotic blueprints. I think that's
Sure.
so helpful
Yeah.
to know your erotic blueprint. So basically, there are 5 erotic blueprints, kind of like the love languages. And the 5 erotic blueprints are sensual, sexual, kinky, shapeshifter, and energetic.
Mhm.
And most people have one dominant blueprint and then maybe a secondary, maybe even a third. So there's like a ranking, just like the love languages. And when you know your erotic blueprint, you can really play and empower with that. So, for example, if you're sensual, you know you want to break out all the yummy sensual things that feel good
That's
on your
me.
body.
I'm sensual.
You're sensual, great. So you want to have like the super cushy bathrobe, and you want to have things that feel good on your body and aromas and your essential oils next to your desk. I have that. And to be feeding yourself on the channels that you need to be fed. And this is really useful when you have a sexual partner to actually know their erotic blueprint and for them to know yours, because you're basically getting a manual, you're getting a guide as to what pleases your partner and what you need in order to be pleased. And now when I work with couples, whether you're a couple, you're dating, you have lovers, if you have a sexual partner, um, we really can empower when we begin to attune to how we need to be approached, how we need to be touched, what words we need to hear, how we need to be flirted with. I'm constantly teaching the art of flirtation because it's so important in our erotic life. We need to keep flirting, even if you've been in a long-term relationship or you're married for many years with children. You need to keep flirting with your partner because it stokes the fire of your erotic connection together. You're building anticipation and you're building praise and
Mhm.
adoration inside of your relationship.
And I love the idea of not only utilizing flirtation, but utilizing flirtation through the lens of erotic blueprint, just like we would
Exactly.
use the love language. If
Exactly.
if my love language is gifts and his is quality time, and I'm just perpetually every day bringing presents home and I'm seeing it as flirtation, it's not received in
Right.
the same way that as we understand our erotic blueprint, we can utilize it in the same lens.
Exactly. So I definitely teach in the program how to flirt to your blueprint and to your
Hmm.
partner's blueprint. We learn actually all the blueprints and how to flirt with them differently. Like how you flirt with a kinky person is totally different than how you'd flirt with an energetic person.
Totally, totally.
Totally different.
My husband's energetic. It was like, oh my gosh, that explains so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I see Katie and Eva on as, I mean, sorry, Katie and Christy on. And if anybody has any additional questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. Eva, anything else that you want to say? I'm just so grateful for you. We've known each other for years now. And I mean, I interviewed you in Beyond the Red Tent when it first started, and it's been so lovely. You've been a master coach within the Women's Vibrancy Code for a good, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's been a couple of years. And
Mhm.
I think what I want to say is just, about the Women's Vibrancy Code and your programming, Mariah, how important it is that we have spaces where women gather to talk about sex.
Mhm.
And in a space that's not necessarily with your girlfriends or your family, where there's a different level of safety and expertise in holding that container. There was a really interesting study that came out about 5 years ago. This came out of Berkeley, uh, where they put women together who were let's say anorgasmic, meaning that they weren't having orgasms, that had vaginal pain during intercourse, that had low libido, and all these other kinds of like Western defined sexual dysfunction. And there were no interventions whatsoever in the groups. They just put them in the same room and got them talking about sex. And what they noticed is that every single woman improved.
Wow.
Because we're breaking the spell. We're taking the gag out of our mouth around what real sexuality is. And when we talk about it, we dispel the myths, we dispel the shame that often comes around sexuality. We're making it the new normal to talk frankly about our bodies and sex in this way. So I appreciate that you allow me to hold those containers for women to bring their real questions. I mean, things like, how do I give a great blowjob? How do I give a hand job? What should I do? I don't always orgasm. Why? I want to learn how to have a vaginal orgasm, a cervical orgasm. I want to learn how to have orgasms all over my body, which is something I teach with Tantra. You can have an orgasm from any place on your body. So how do we do that? So we talk about both the mundane, the everyday kind of questions that come up around sex, and also a lot of the esoteric around sexuality.
Yes. And for those of you that end up applying and are accepted into the Women's Vibrancy Code, you then have access to the entire portal with every recorded call since April of 2020. And so there has been so much amazing content in these calls with Eva, and I know that you'll love them. So Eva, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure, Maraya.
Okay, let's bring on Christy and then Katie. Thank you for being patient. I really appreciate it. Remove
Hey, friend.
spotlight. Christy, you've been on this whole call. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. How's your rest and hiatus?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love it.
I'm so proud of you. Christy is doing a phenomenal job at allowing her cup to get filled up.
Yeah.
So
I highly recommend it to everyone.
so I really, really, really honor your time here for sure. I'm curious if we can just so for those of you that don't know, Christy is the co-founder of REST. REST stands for Rapid Reprogramming Emotional Stress Technique. We'll talk a little bit about it. And so for the women that come into the Women's Vibrancy Code, as well as my VIP clients, the VIP clients, they get one-on-one rest sessions with Christy. And it's not just that she's an advanced practitioner, but she is the co-founder. And so my first question, Christy, and then we'll also ask you what is rest, but how can past trauma influence a woman's energy, sleep, stress, boundary setting, stories of worthiness? What role does past trauma play in that?
It literally is playing the role in everything that you do. Like anything that you're stressed over, you think that you're stressed over something. Like everyone has stress. And first, let's just say stress is an awareness mechanism to say that there's something out of balance, right? So I'm not saying that stress is bad. I'm saying that if we don't handle our stress in the correct way, it's going to throw you completely off. So whatever you are stressed about right now, think about it and think about what you think the reason is. Well, what we believe is that, and I love being able to be teed up right after Eva, because it goes back to like, what happened to you? What's stored in your body, in your brain over what happened to you a long time ago that you probably don't remember, but your body still remembers it, right? Your brain still remembers it. It's just like, we can't even remember what we wore yesterday. Like, how can we remember every single thing that has triggered us? So what rest we're able to do is we're able to look back at what happened to you and kind of do like a gardening of the mind to just kind of move that out of the way and leave this new, fresh, fertile place to plant a new seed and watch what happens and how you handle your stress. And you're always going to have stress. I don't want to say, you come work with us, you're never going to have stress again, but you're going to be able to be more aware of it. You're probably going to be able to respond in a much better way. And just having that awareness is huge. And to just also have some dang grace for yourself to realize that it's not about what is wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. It's about what happened to you. Yeah.
And I love that with rest, it might not even be a traumatic
Oh yeah.
moment that you remember. I mean, I remember I had a rest session and it was something when I was 2 weeks old at my grandparents' house, the way that my grandmother handed me to my grandfather because she needed to go into the kitchen. Now, I didn't find that memory. It
No.
was either with you or it was with Mitra Ray. I don't remember for that rest session, but the rest practitioner found that using kinesiology, and I'll let you describe that piece.
Yeah.
And that little moment created a pattern. It created a pattern for me. It showed up in my relationship and my marriage. If my husband was late, I would like freak out. I don't, and I
Oh yeah,
didn't
that
know
one was with me.
why.
Now I remember. I'm like,
You
well,
remember
yeah,
that? Yeah. I was like,
yes,
why is this such a big deal? And we found we go back to that initial moment, that initial memory
yeah.
that maybe isn't even in our conscious mind traumatic. And yet, I think of scissors. You just snip and then poof. So, what is rest? How do you describe
Yeah,
rest?
I mean, okay, so it's kind of like what you just said. A lot of times with meditations, I'll do the snipping because it's the energetic strands. You know, the woo-woo side is we're all connected, right? So sometimes we're connected by old memories that we don't realize. We're connected by love and connection, and sometimes we need to snip some things away. And that's what rest is. So the sciencey part is it's two R's. So it's spelled RREST, and it stands for Rapid Reprogramming of Emotional Stress Technique.
Mhm.
And basically, it's a way to say, we can get to your stress pretty quick and we can help to remove it. It may not happen in one session. For me, it did. For me, it happened very quickly. It was so profound. I was like, you can't be the only person who knows how to do this. You need to teach me. I said to the creator. And, that's kind of what's been really fascinating. I'm jumping ahead here, but I think it fits is then when I work with the women from the Women's Vibrancy Code, the changes happen faster than some of my clients who are outside of the Women's Vibrancy Code.
Mhm.
And I think that's because they have committed, they're hungry for change, and they're putting their ego aside, to really focus in on what they need. I love listening to Kathleen. This woman is making bank, and she's doing it by making a huge impact. I love how she has, all of her staff take Fridays off for self-care, but she still says, I have work to do on me. And when women who are making big changes in the world still recognize that they still have work to do on themselves, the shifts are just profound. It's
Yeah.
just amazing to see.
Yeah.
I never know what's going to happen when someone comes into a rest session. I don't know anything, but I follow your stress using biofeedback. You can feel it. It's a way like when you think about if you were to walk into a room, everybody has an energetic room. For a moment, everybody just, if you want to play, close your eyes for a moment and think about what it would feel like if you were an outsider coming into your own home. You can almost imagine like the front door and what it feels like to come into the front door and just take a moment and notice, tune in to what is that energy. And maybe it's easier for you to do that if you tune in going into someone else's house, but every single one of you feels that energy. We just train our coaches to harness in on that and just chase the stress. We're following your
Mhm.
stress. We're not Miss Cleo. We're not psychic. I mean, people have psychic abilities, but specifically, we're focusing on your stress and how we can find out what happened to you and not spend a lot of time on what happened to you because the past doesn't matter. It's what's happening to you right now that matters most, because when you get into the right mindset in this space of more clarity and less stress in the moment, your future is like waiting for you.
Mhm. The other thing, so I love that you highlighted that women's experience doing rest sessions with you when they're in the Women's Vibrancy Code does happen more quickly, and you're an alumni of the Women's Vibrancy Code, so you know it from the inside.
Yeah.
You've played concierge support, and I'm still in conversation with Christy, like, Christy, come on, come to mama.
Up to mama. God, I love you.
And for now, you are here to offer rest sessions. And so, for those of you listening, I know it seems really abstract. It's
Yeah.
like imagine a mixture of acupressure and muscle testing and Reiki and EMDR
Breathwork and
and what?
meridians, breathwork and meridians and chakras. Oh my.
Yeah. All of it mixed into one virtual
Yeah.
hour-long session that's one-on-one.
Yep.
I cover the cost for you as long as you're in Women's Vibrancy Code or a VIP client. And now you get to allow the transformation to be profound. And I think of it, the word aka is a Hawaiian word. It's like the web that connects us to all people and things, past, present, and future.
Mhm.
And when we make that snip from that event that has created a traumatic pattern in our bodies or in our psyche or how we think, when that snip is made, it literally transforms the whole web. And so it changes past, present, and future, not in our own, not just in our own experience, but with those that we are in relationships with. And the stories are insane. We don't have time for them today because I want to make sure I also honor Katie's time. Um, Christy, anything else that you want to add?
I cannot speak enough to every single one of you who, if you're on this call, you're probably a high performing woman who has probably neglected your needs. And I'm just saying, as one of those women, just like, please take care of yourself sooner than later and recognize that you can't do it all. And being able to lean on support to help people accelerate through this process while slowing down is a gift. And I wish that we could clone you, Maraya Brown, and give you to everyone, because there's not enough space for you to serve everyone. But if you're in this room and you have an opportunity to do it, do whatever you got to do to take time for yourself sooner than later.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you, Christy. And I love you and I honor you. And I'm so grateful to be, I mean, we've been working together for
We've got some
three,
years under our
three,
belt.
4, 5 years. I don't even know. I have a
Yeah.
lot of respect for Christy and anyone who has a chance to work with her. You're also blessed.
I love
Okay.
you.
Love you. Let's see if Katie's still on. Katie, do we still have you? We do. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let me remove spotlight. Last one. And then obviously if anybody has other questions, and I see Krista saying I need to book some time with Christy. Yes, you do. You get to, you desire to. Okay, where is Katie? There. Katie, add to spotlight. Hi.
Oh,
Thank you for your patience.
of course, of course.
Hopefully that was fun for you. I think you got a little bit of Kathleen and you got to hear Eva and you got to see
Yeah,
Christy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, yeah, the gang's all here.
Yeah. And we all get to be reminded of all of the different master coaches and the ways in which we hold the container for these women. It's like, oh, right, they're getting that too, and they're getting that too. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to read your official bio. I just want to kind
No.
of share what I know about you and how amazing you are. So Katie is a nutritionist dietitian. Yes.
Yes.
Master's trained. And she is spectacular. I interviewed a lot of possible nutritionists or dietitians to bring them in. And nobody was the right fit until I found Katie. And then she and I vetted for one another for a good 3 months. Like, what would you do? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Because, it's like everyone's like, got to be paleo, you got to be keto, you got to do intermittent fasting, blah, 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 and the noise. And we had to make sure that we were on the same page. And so when I'm having a call with a woman and she's not there, and she's having a call with a woman and I'm not there, that our story and our advice and the way we advise women is consistent.
Yeah.
So she also is an expert in gut health and she trains other healthcare providers, other nutritionists, other dietitians. She's being flown all over the world to be a trainer and keynote speaker. She's good at what she does. Anything else? What else can I add? She's published. What else?
Like, I don't even know. I'm the worst at talking about myself. So I'm like, go Maraya.
She's awesome. The other thing, just in full disclosure, I am not a super detail oriented person. I don't particularly like to get into the nitty gritty so much. I like more broad stroke. And I acknowledged that for the women in the Women's Vibrancy Code, some of them were really desiring that. And so Katie
Sure.
can come in and also offer some specificity. And sometimes she brings in a resource like, here's a resource guide if you're going to decide to go gluten free and how to shop and how to read labels. And here are some recipes. I'm like, yeah, awesome. I would never be the one to make that. So Katie comes in to add to the whole experience. Okay. So Katie, can you talk a little bit about gut health? Um,
Oh my gosh,
just
yes.
like, what does gut health influence, and why do we look at a GI map specifically?
Yeah,
What
kind of
can it
like,
tell
why
us?
do we care? Why do we care what's going on in there?
Yeah.
And so our gut or our digestive tract, it is the one of the major points of detoxification in our bodies. So as we're trying to get our energy back, as we're trying to support our hormones, and as our body does its natural processes, we have to have a spot for our body to kind of go like detox out, exit out that system. And so what our gut environment can influence is so many different things. It does have a connection with our brain. We have a gut brain axis, so it can affect mood. And most of our happy hormone or serotonin is actually made within our gut environment. So that mood is definitely affected. It also communicates with our hormones and kind of has a kind of breakdown effect, or the last point of breakdown for especially estrogen. So as we're looking at that kind of environment and how our different hormones communicate, we take a look at that gut too. And I also always find it interesting as well that it influences how our body works cellularly. So how it takes up like sugar from our blood and how it uses it. And
Mhm.
so all of these other kind of interesting background behind the scenes processes that can influence how we feel, fatigue
Yes.
wise, health wise, all of those things
Yes. I
are
love what you just said, because someone will say, well, I don't really, well, some, I've got gassiness, I've got bloating, I'm
sure.
constipated, I have diarrhea, but some go, well, I
Yeah.
don't think I have gut issues. And
Yeah.
we go, well, are you tired? Are your hormones off? Do you have brain fog? Do you not sleep? Is your libido off? Are you having struggling losing weight? I mean, I could go on. Do you have aches and pains in your bodies? Do you have strange rashes? All of these things, we can go back to the gut. So why
Yeah.
the GI map? I mean, we order the GI map test, and then we give women a very personalized kind of prescription, so to speak, of supplements that are specific to her Dutch and her GI map. Why
Mhm.
the GI map, and what does that show you when as you read it? Because listen, I'll be really honest.
Uh,
I go to Katie as the resource for the GI map. I study it. I'm still getting to know it. And yet, this is important for everybody to hear. So listen up to this. Maybe you've had some tests done. Maybe you've had a Dutch test. Maybe you've had a GI map. Maybe you've had a thyroid test. It is striking to me how many times that old test comes to me, and it's supposedly a provider's seen it. My naturopath saw it, and they miss big red blinking lights. And so for me with the GI map, I still go to Katie. She is the expert within the team, specifically with the GI map. And then she and I are in constant collaboration and leaving each other Voxer
Mhm.
messages. How about this? Here's what's going on. Okay, so why the GI map, and what do you see from it?
So why the GI map? The GI map to me is the one that kind of shows everything. It is a terrain, a map, a terrain of that whole entire system. So it shows us what's happening with that kind of normal or your great or your most robust flora. It also shows, do we have imbalance? Do we have dysbiosis? Do we have something that starts looking like a leaky gut? And how then does that influence the background with all of that? And so by looking at that whole terrain, and what I also look at is it's not just like this one thing does it all. It's a snowball effect. So usually like little bits happening over here, and then that influences over there, and then that tells your body something else.
Mhm.
And so we want to take a closer look at what all those actions are doing, and then also utilizing supplements, utilizing how you eat to really, really get the needle to move. So I'm always kind of diving in like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So we have something spelled out for that needle to move and for you to feel like your best self as soon as we can do it.
Right, right. Not just go get a random probiotic.
Yes. Yes. And in all honesty, I hardly ever utilize probiotics. And that sounds really weird coming from a gut health person.
Mhm.
But I just am like, well, we want to utilize the thing that's going to be what is actually useful
Yeah.
and not just kind of throwing something at it and going like, oh, I hope this helps.
Right. Right, totally. And I love that both of us, we will generally always lead with food. So
Mhm.
find out what are foods that someone likes, doesn't like.
Yeah.
Does it feel restricting? Or the walls are caving, and I don't want you
Yeah.
to ever be on a diet or some food plan that feels restricting. Okay, there's no weighing food. There's no
Yeah.
diets here. This needs to become a lifestyle that feels
Mhm.
sustainable for the long run.
Mhm.
And so start with food and then figure out, okay, where else can we bring in personalized supplementation that bolsters it and adds to it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at supplements as like I might use something temporarily or for some months because I'm just trying to help that food or I'm just trying to help
Yep.
the needle move a little bit quicker.
Yep.
And then you're exactly right with food. I look at food as support. Like food is the fuel and the fire. So if we're
Mhm.
thinking about it of like what all the things do I have to take away? And there might be some things that'll be like, oh, okay, without this, we might support something better, certainly. But we also have to look in at what are we putting in to
Yep.
help support the system as a
Yep.
whole.
Right. Right. What is it? Reduce, reinoculate. What is
Not
it?
gonna wait
Remove.
the 5 R's.
Yeah. What is it's the 4 or the 5 R's? Reduce, repair,
Remember,
remove, and reinoculate.
inoculate.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
We're students.
I'm like, I remember my R's. I promise.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think sometimes, like you've heard a couple of the women share their testimonials, that the quantifiable data becomes a nice motivator. I can think of one client, she was struggling, she was tired, she was like, I have a lot of body aches. I kept suggesting that she try on taking gluten out of her diet. And for her, it was just too much. But then once she met with Katie and they looked at the GI map, I was like, you know what? I actually have sensitivity to gluten. And then she came to me, she's like, okay, I'm ready. Let's talk about this. What is this going to look like? So it's not just here, you're going to take all these things out, but what are we going to replace? And is it a personalized thing? And we have data to support it. Okay. I'm aware of your time. It's 37 after. I have a massage in 20 minutes.
Great. Oh,
Anything else
great.
you want to add?
I would just say that, I mean, definitely, I'm so glad that I got to see the other master coaches too, and this as
Yeah.
well today. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a robust program that you are just looking at whole person, whole picture.
Mhm.
And the nice part is that all of us work with each other to
Yeah.
really bring in kind of these master brains to go, how can you feel the best?
Yeah.
How can you take the time to really just have some focus on you in such a full circle way instead
Mhm.
of maybe just feeling like piecemeal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that about this.
Yep. And we get to prioritize our health just as much as we prioritize the new TV and the new car and the travel and the business
Yeah.
coaches. And I don't know, when you think about all the things that we invest in, are we also showing up as the CEO of our health and our longevity, as Kathleen says? And are we showing up as the CEO of our relationships so that we feel deeply rooted and connected? And there we are seeing ourselves.
Yeah.
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 Okay, well, I'm so grateful for your time and for everybody that's still here in Zoom, for everyone watching over in the Facebook world and everyone watching the replay. Thank you for your time. I honor that we all live full, productive lives. And please reach out to your success advisor once again in the workbook, successadvisor@marayabrown.com. Send an email. You can send a text message to, what's the number? It is 541-904-4441. And Aaliyah, if you're still on, if you can put the link one more time to book a call with Sarah, I really highly encourage you. Just book a call with Sarah. She'll help give you some hand holding to help you navigate, like, what do I do here? Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm not thinking. What's the best fit for me? Here's where I feel super confronted. Here are the questions that I have. That's a great space to ask. And Florence, you're welcome. All right. Y'all are awesome. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.